Hey everyone, my name is Tokuni Arimasen, and in this video I'm going to be broadly going over information that will hopefully help you have more successful runs in Risk of Rain 2. I've broken down this information into 3 categories: enemies, maps, and general habits. To preface, I won't be looking at all the enemies in the game, just those that have patterns or details that I've found interesting enough to warrant an examination. Also, do keep in mind that this video is being released a few weeks after Risk of Rain 2 hit early access on Steam, so some of this information may become outdated. With that being said, let's jump into the first section of the video, enemies. In this section, I'll be taking a look at these particular mobs. First up is the Lesser Wisp. This is a more common enemy in the early stages of the game, but it's actually one of the more threatening ones. They have a hit scan laser projectile that comes out fast, and it does a decent amount of damage in the early game. You can dodge a laser by circling around the Wisp or going to their side, but I'd much rather suggest that you take these guys out first, as in the early stages of the game, their consistent damage from the laser is most likely what's going to threaten you if not kill you. As a side note, their laser can be interrupted regardless of whether or not you have a stun, as long as you hit them before they fire the projectile. The Lemurian is another common enemy that is very similar to the Lesser Wisp, in that it's one of the mobs that is able to do consistent damage to you if you're in a bad spot. They fire a flame projectile that has a moderate travel time when they're at a distance from you. When they're close to you, however, they try to follow you and opt for a melee combo with their claws, which is typically a lot more easy to avoid than the fireballs. If you're having trouble with clearing a crowd of them in the early game, consider getting close enough to trigger the change in their attack pattern and effectively bunch them up for a big AoE clear. The Brass Contraption, or the Bell, is one of the more tankier mobs in the game, but its attack pattern is very simple and straightforward. It shoots 3 spike balls at you that typically do a hefty amount of damage if they manage to hit you. The key to avoiding these projectiles is in direction. The Brass Contraption always shoots in a clockwise direction when it's facing you. That is to say, it shoots the leftmost spike ball first, then the middle, and then the right. If you have enough move speed, you can probably just strafe and dodge these attacks if you're at a good enough distance from the bell. But if you're close and you're slow, your best bet is to first strafe right to dodge the first 2 spike balls, and then to the left to dodge the last one. Stone Golems are tanky high DPS mobs that are horribly frightening to meet in masses. Once they lock onto you, they will fire the laser after a short period of time, regardless of whether or not they actually see you or can even hit you. They can perform other actions, such as clapping in melee range while they're charging the laser. Some of the ways to avoid this attack is to either get behind cover or by stunning them during their laser charge. If you have no cover or stun, however, you can still reliably dodge the laser as long as you're aware of the direction that you're moving in. If you're moving in the same direction as the laser, suffice it to say that you're gonna get hit. If you move around or to the side or above the laser, you'll most likely dodge it. Move in circles around the Stone Golem, not in straight lines. The Greater Wisp has one main attack mechanic, which is to shoot 2 fireballs at you after taking a while to charge up. These fireballs have a splash damage effect when they hit any kind of surface. The best way to dodge this attack is either vertically, by jumping up high enough, or by moving towards/under the Greater Wisp. Realistically though, by the time you encounter these mobs in masses, you're most likely also going to have a bunch of other mobs to deal with and will likely not have the option of precise movement. The best option at that point is to stick to either vertical movement, multiple or high jumps, or moving fast enough so that you can move side to side without getting hit by the splash damage by the fireballs. As a side note, they may sometimes continue firing a fireball even on their death, as long as they started charging it before they died, so be wary. The elite version of this mob, specifically the Blazing variant, have been a sore spot in many of people's runs. They have 3 basic attacks. The first is a predictive fist that bursts out of the floor beneath you. It is predictive in that the Titan targets where it thinks you will end up being, based on your current movement. If you're fast enough, you can completely bypass this mechanic and keep moving in the same direction. It won't be able to keep up with you. If you're slow, however, consider backtracking or moving in a different direction when you see the marker on the floor, or simply jumping if your jump is high enough. Their second attack is the infamous tracking laser, which, contrary to popular belief, can be easily dodged by simply circling around the Titan. The integral part of dodging the laser is to get a head start on it. Sprint and then simply begin circling the Titan, throwing jumps in when you can to avoid other sources of damage such as the fist. The laser tracks your current position and is not predictive. Therefore, simply keeping pace ahead of the laser at a decent speed around the Titan will prevent it from hitting you. That or taking cover. The last attack is when the Titan summons an energy rock above his head that periodically shoots a projectile at you. Try to kill him fast enough at this point to avoid cluttering your screen with too many projectiles. Aurelionite is the optional boss of the Gilded Coast, a hidden map that we enter by finding and activating a gold altar before using the teleporter of any map. The gold altar can spawn at any point in the game from the first map you run and onwards, but is purely RNG from my experience. Aurelionite as a boss is not too different from the Stone Titans in terms of attack patterns. Mechanically, however, he is immune to damage until you activate the 7 Halcyon beacons on the map. If you do not kill him fast enough, he deactivates these beacons, to which you will need to reactivate them again to damage him. His attacks are variations of the Stone Titan attacks, but instead of a fist coming up from the ground, a line of swords come up instead. It is also predictive by nature, and dodging it is exactly how you would dodge a Stone Titan's fist. Likewise, dodging Aurelionite's laser is the exact same as well, but even easier, as his variation of the move is not strictly a laser, but a stream of bullets. Seeing as it is not a constant beam, but instead a stream of short interval projectiles, you have even more breathing room to circle Aurelionite and avoid damage. In this next section, we'll be looking at all of the currently available maps and efficient ways of combing them to get most of the loot in a timely manner. The Distant Roost is one of 2 primary level maps. It's also one of the smallest, most dense maps of the currently playable areas. This map can have several variations where either the doorway to a small ledge is locked, or whether or not a natural bridge spawns connecting this main area to the other one. I recommend sweeping around the cliff edge first, the extended area if it spawns, and then the central area or the doorway. If you need to get to the top of the map, please note that there is a mountainside path that any character can traverse without having to go around and through the tunnel. Points of interest on this map are the ledge on the side of the cliff where a teleporter can spawn, the small ledge on the main part of the map underneath the upper level bridge where small items are easily missable, and the small rock underneath the connecting bridge where a newt altar can spawn. Titanic Plains is the other primary level map and is one of the better maps to navigate. It's open and clear, making it easy to see items and objects of interest. It's a very straightforward area, with not much else to say other than that there's a newt altar at the top of the hill, and also 2 possible spawns of newt altars behind the arc and pillar structures near the edges of the map. Wetland Aspect is one of the 2 secondary level maps and is one of the worst maps to find rusty lockboxes in. A lot of ruined structures prevent clear visibility, and the overall color scheme makes it difficult to see items, not to mention their proclivity to spawn under the shallow murky waters. My recommendation to sweep this map is to simply clone the ground level first, starting from one of the dead end areas and then circling around to the other one. Then comb the center of the swamp from a high vantage point if possible. The cliffside with a possible geyser spawn on the ground floor is a good spot. If you're feeling thorough, quickly scope under the angled pillars and structures towards the center of the map. The particular points of interest on this map are the newt altar on the high cliff, newt altar on one of the pillars, and a secret mob area that unlocks a legendary item off the edge of the map. The Abandoned Aqueduct is the other secondary level map. This desert map is one of the better maps to see items, but its large size makes it difficult to efficiently gather items quickly. The best way to think of the map is either as the number 0 or as the figure 8. Circle the area of one section, then its center, one loop on the map, and then go on to the other section and repeat. Points of interest. 2 buttons on the map that spawn in random locations. When simultaneously activated, they open the door on the far end of the map, unlocking 2 green items when you cleared the special mobs. There's also a newt altar at the very top of the map beneath the fossil, and also other newt altars on the cliff side of the map. Rallypoint Delta is the current penultimate map with a large amount of space and a variety of structures. I recommend going on a large loop through the cave system around the edge of the map, and then to the corner of this one mountainside to make sure that you're not missing anything. Then, looking through the center and examining the spiral path up over here. If you're feeling thorough, examine the high cliffside where you occasionally spawn. You can get here if you have high enough jump or by activating this fan. Celestial portals spawn in this map every cycle you make after clearing the first 4-man loop. The points of interest on this map are the Newt altar in this corner, on the high cliffside near one of the containers, and then next to these trees. The Abyssal Depths is the final map in a standard cycle, and it has multiple levels where items can spawn. I recommend you go along the edges first until you reach the slope area. Go up the slope and then pop your head into the valley-like area to see if there are any item spawns. I've gone through this valley multiple times, but I have yet to see an item that spawns that deep inside, so I think a simple glance at the entrance is good enough. Once you've done a full lap around the map, check the 3 hill-like protrusions for items. Finally, go up the 2 geysers to the top level of the map and check if there are any items up there. The points of interest on this map are the Newt altar on the golden crystal at the very top of the map and in this crevice above the valley-like area. There's also one legendary chest that always spawns in this little cave beneath the hill. Hidden Realm Bazaar Between Time is one of the optional areas in the game. It's a shop area that spawns by either activating a Newt altar before you use the teleporter or by random chance when you start up a map. Here, you can trade a certain number of items of one rarity for another, or purchase from 4 randomly generated lunar items that you've unlocked. If you hit the Newt shopkeeper enough and you don't kill him, he kicks you out of the shop for that specific instance, meaning, if you go back again through another blue portal later in the same run, his shop will be open again. The point of interest on this map is the environment log beneath this large ring that's directly below the blue exit portal. The Gilded Coast is an optional area reached by finding and activating random golden altars found throughout the regular maps before using a teleporter. The optional boss, Aurelionite, is covered in the enemies section of this video. There is no environment log for this area as of the posting of this video. A Moment Fractured is the end area where you can finish your run by obliterating yourself at the obelisk. If you have a change of heart, just hover over the obelisk and a portal will spawn to its right, allowing you to return to your run and go on to the next map. The points of interest on this map are the environment log beneath the starting island over here, and 2 Easter egg islands in the far distance, reached by launching yourself off these wooden posts. Finally, in this section, I'll just be going over general tips to improve your gameplay regardless of whatever class you're playing. The first tip is to prioritize certain mobs. At the beginning of the game, you aren't typically in danger from dying to a boss if you can dodge well enough. Your primary threats are the small mobs that tend to whittle down your HP due to their sheer number and projectiles. Clearing a group of mobs before you activate a teleporter, or focusing on killing the mobs that reliably hit you the most will give you a lot of breathing room to deal with the boss later. The second part of this are elite mobs. Elite mobs are the ender of runs, and getting into the habit of taking them out first, even before a boss, is a good habit to get into. The second tip is to manage your time. At the end of the day, Risk of Rain is a race. It's about who can scale faster, you or the game. Given that we're currently unable to select the items that we loot, it's of great importance, especially on higher difficulties, that you effectively manage your time. Set a limit you feel comfortable with on each map and try to stick to it to get stronger before the enemies outpace you. And finally, the last tip is that sometimes offense is the best defense. This is a very situational piece of advice, but I encourage you to think a little bit more aggressively when it comes to playing the game, and only on certain characters of course. If you're at the point in the game where you're struggling to clear all the mobs and are at risk of being easily killed some way or another, consider playing aggressively rather than defensively. In the late game, maybe instead of immediately wiping all the fodder mobs to clear the map, You can strategically bunch them all up around the teleporter to use as a pseudo bomb to explode an elite boss that you would have otherwise struggled to kill. Or maybe instead of peeking behind cover over and over, you can aggressively fight this one mob in open space, take him out, and give yourself breathing room and a better fighting spot for the boss. The point is, it might be sometimes beneficial to think of plays that give you more space to work with rather than less. And with that, I'm going to be wrapping up this video. I hope it was somewhat useful and that you were able to at least take away a smidget of worthwhile information. If you have any feedback or comments, please let me know, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.